Daily Wire, progressive commentator throws water on Democrat attempt to brand Trump a fascist. Anna Kasparian is probably voting for Donald Trump. She actually defended him. She says, okay, fine, I'll bite. Fascism requires a militarized citizenry, conquest and imperialism, the elimination of our governing bodies, and the notion that anyone who isn't a part of a master race should be massacred. She noticed that was a weird thing to label a guy who brags about not starting any new wars. He also passed criminal justice reform and personally pardoned black inmates who were serving life sentences for drug crimes who Obama was unwilling to pardon. But I'm the effing stupid one. Okay. Anna Kasparian defending Donald Trump a week out from the election was not on my bingo card.
I thought this was actually throwing water. I was like, and when did they throw the water?
She's gonna vote for Trump, but outside of that, I kind of feel like if you're asking for the temperature check on whether Trump wins, it's Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks defending Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, she's been getting clearer and clearer on a lot of issues recently. She's been more willing to, push back against Cenk when he says things that are pretty far to the left. And even, all right, to be fair, actually, even Cenk has gotten, even though I very much disagree with him, and we don't want to fall into this right-wing habit of worshiping any leftist who hates our way of life when they say one thing we agree with, Cenk has actually been saying some things about Trump and the way that Trump has been talked about, which have shocked me as well.
I think Cenk was for a period, and it's still probably true, he was saying whatever he needed to say for his audience. And the issue is that the left has gone crazy. Honest people called it out immediately. And the grifters feigned disinterest and said, oh, me, oh, my, I don't know. And Cenk got to the point where he's realizing that the leftist market is minimized because people think the left's gone crazy, which means he's going to go out of business if he chases after this insanity. Right now, another big example is Eric Weinstein tweeting that he's like, I'm not voting for anybody. I can't do this. It's not for me. And Mike Cernovich called him a moral coward because he's like, you pony up to the Trump side of things, but you refuse to take a stance because you're scared of the social consequences because of people like Sam Harris. There are still a lot of people.
He thinks Eric Weinstein is?
Yeah.
I don't know if he is.
Eric Weinstein's refusing to vote for Trump. I'll tell you this.
You might not like him.
I do not understand how anyone could say, I agree the open border is a problem. I agree we should bring back our jobs. I agree gender ideology is crazy. I agree woke has gone too far. I agree cancel culture is crazy. I agree DEI and government institutions and our corporations is bad. I'm not going to vote for Trump. I'm like, that's completely illogical and an emotional decision that makes literally no sense. The math, the logical equation off of everything we see right now in reasonable culture in this world, disaffected liberals, post-liberals, conservatives, and libertarians aligned. See, Dave Smith, what did he say? He said, I'm voting for Trump. I'm like, yes, because Dave Smith is an honest guy. And he has real grievances and real criticisms. And then he said, I saw Kamala Harris campaigning with Liz Cheney. And I'm like, she deserves to lose. I'm voting for Trump. And I'm like, yes, any sane and reasonable, honest person will come to that conclusion. I think
sometimes people on a personal level are just like, I don't want to do that again.
I agree with I believe Michael Malice. I trust him. He says, I'm not voting. I don't care. I don't believe in this system. I won't do it. And that is bigger than whether he cares or doesn't care about Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. But for someone like Eric Weinstein, I don't believe he's being honest when he's like, oh, I just can't vote for the guy. It's like, then stop complaining about the things he's going to fix. Right? So let me put it this way. Michael Malice says, I will not participate in this system no matter what. I say, okay, I get it. He can defend Trump. He can defend the right. He can defend his ideas, but he rejects the system outright. You're never going to get him over that hurdle. Eric Weinstein says, I want a champion and a candidate. Here are all the things I don't like. I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. No disrespect to Eric Weinstein. I'm just saying I don't believe it. All of these people that are claiming this, I don't believe it. When Anna Kasparian comes out and defends Donald Trump, I believe she's actually looking at the facts and she's realizing like, you can't defend whatever this stuff is. Cenk Uygur, however, I think is just going wherever the wind blows.
I think they're always having that same argument that you're having over. I think the left-wing people are all having that where they're just like, they're bad on Palestine. They're just like, well, you can vote. And then they're like, well, isn't this going to be better? And they're having kind of the same argument about that. Well, if you think this is bad, then why are you not going to vote for it? But
Trump and both Trump and Kamala are going to be pro-Israel.
Well, that's not how they see it, right? So they're having that same argument that you're having about Eric Weinstein on the left.
No, I think the left very much agrees. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are, what do they call Genocide Joe? They believe that whether it's Kamala or Trump, you are getting a pro-Israel administration.
Right, which is why they're saying that they don't want to vote for her.
Which is why the ballots that got burned in Portland and Washington had an incendiary device that was marked Free Gaza on it.
Interesting.
Now, we don't know exactly who did it. Still, a black vehicle pulled up to ballot boxes, more than one, and threw incendiary devices inside, destroying hundreds of ballots, and the devices said Free Gaza.
What a move.
It may be because the leftists are like, there's no administration for me.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of that, primarily on the Palestine issue, which is also interesting, though, because historically, the left has been ironically farsighted with their voting patterns. They've said, this guy's a little bit more like us, so we're going to keep voting for him, and then the country has shifted massively to the left. And then, for whatever reason, this is the issue where they've decided they just can't vote for somebody unless they're totally with them on the issue. I'm curious why.
I want to say something right now. I've been saying it nonstop. I'm going to keep saying it because this is the most important week of our lives to date. You must vote because your vote will be the deciding vote in this election. That is not an exaggeration. In Lauren Boebert's district in the midterm, it came down to about 500 votes. It was razor thin. And there was potentially going to be a recount until the Democrats said, you know what, never mind, I don't want to do it. It is very likely there are going to be insane legal challenges with razor thin margins, and heaven forbid you wake up thinking, what's the point? I'm in a blue state anyway, or I'm in a red state anyway. And then Trump loses this district by a handful of votes, by a couple hundred. It is your vote that will be the deciding vote, especially if you are in a blue state. Deep blue California, vote. Trump wins the popular vote if you do. You're in deep red, vote. I'm in West Virginia. I went and voted today. I voted for Trump. That way, I know West Virginia is voting for Trump. Do I even need? Of course, because Trump needs the popular vote. But in many of these districts, in PA and these swing states, every single vote has the potential to be the deciding vote in this election. So make sure you are getting out the vote. You are getting your friends to vote. You are telling your friends to go vote, whatever you have to do, and then you go vote. Just
Amen.
1 week. One week, man.
Yeah, polls don't vote. People do. Betting markets don't vote. People do. You gotta get out there.
Not voting is, I think, a symptom of being black-pilled. I think Weinstein's black-pilled. Like, he seems
I've never
hopeless. You've never voted?
Oh, but you're
I
Canadian.
voted.
I can't vote in America, but
Yeah.
I voted in Canada
I
either.
voted in 08, and I voted in 16, I think. I voted for Jill Stein. That was like, screw these guys. I'm voting for Jill Stein kind of vote.
Yeah, the woo-woo crackpot burn the country down candidate.
Yeah, like I had no care for the two angry people. I was like, let's do somebody that wants to heal the earth. That's all I care about.
I don't think that's
communist.
her.
Well,
Yeah.
she represented the Green Party, which was supposed to be
Dude,
the one
yeah.
that cared about the environment. I was so
they did.
checked out during that. It was ridiculous the way
Watermelon
Bernie
Party.
Sanders got the boot. I wanted to vote for Bernie. But I think
Yeah, I was for
when you're
Bernie.
black-pilled, it's easy to say
Boy, was that wrong.
I'm not going to participate because there is like you kind of guide the direction if you're going to opt not to. There's a reason. Like Eric is he seems black-pilled. He seems hopeless about the future. If you really listen to him, he's very articulate and logical about it. But then he says like, I feel like we are doomed. Like he has that message of I feel like we are doomed. So I'm not surprised he's not voting. Now, as for Anna Kasparian, I would like to debate her or at least talk to her about fascism because she said some specific stuff about fascism that I don't necessarily. Says it requires a militarized conquest, imperialism. I think that you can live in a very peaceful fascist society.
She's correct.
I don't think so.
She is correct.
She assumes master race is going to massacre
that's
people.
The one thing she may be wrong about is I don't believe fascism. I could be wrong, but I don't think fascism was about master race. That was Nazism.
Yes.
That was a tenet of Nazism.
Which is a form of fascism.
Fascism and Nazism were similar in a lot of ways, largely that they were militarized, traditionalist, authoritarian systems.
Like the military-industrial complex is a form of fascism.
They don't usually talk about removing power from government, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want the corporations colluding with the government to have military control, basically, is fascism. But it can be very peaceful. Like, you don't know you're in a fascist society when you're getting fed. It doesn't feel like it until things really start to step out of line. Like Trump's kind of speaking. He talks about moving away from fascism. Well, at least he talks about getting rid of the deep state, which would be a way of getting rid of the corporate government collusion. I don't know if he's actually is going to do it. I don't know if he can do it. Anyway, I digress.
I don't know. I think Anna will vote for Trump.
For sure. If what she's saying is true, she's already voted for him.
It's simple.
No, to be fair, all she said was not fascist, so
No.
it's possible.
Anna's story, which I will say, I don't want to say the full details of what happened to her because we're trying to be family friendly.
Yeah.
But she was assaulted by a homeless man.
It's true.
In a very disgusting way. We'll put it that way. Earmuffs for the kids. And when she said, "Holy crap, this guy just violated me," the left said, "Stop harming homeless people." And she was like, "What?" And they were like, you are creating a negative view of homeless people by perpetuating these lies. You're a white woman, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, and that was a wake-up call for her.
Even worse, she said that when she first told the story, people started calling her racist.
Yep.
And she never even mentioned the skin color. And she said that the guys ended up being white, or when she did finally say it, she said they were white. But people just immediately assumed because she was complaining about someone who assaulted her that she was racist and that the person was black.
Yep.
I've seen that tons of times, though, in this industry where someone does something, a group gets really mad at them, and then you dig your heels in and go completely the other way. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
like if you have like a month of getting pilloried by a community, you're like, all right, I'm whatever that isn't.
Well,
Yeah,
have you guys
100%.
seen The Animal with Rob Schneider?
Yeah, of course.
I rewatch it every week.
Yeah,
It's
so
my favorite film.
was he like he's massacring animals or whatever? And then
actually never seen
at
it.
the end, they're like, he's the monster, we got to get him. But then the black dude is like, it was me. And then Norm Macdonald's like, well, I didn't join a mob to go after a black guy. And they all just leave. Like they're like, we're not interested in this. Jeez. But that's a lot of what the left does.
Like in Anna's case, it wasn't like the first thing may have been the attack, but there's also like this has been multiple things that have happened. There was she made a remark about birthing person. She's like, I'm not a birthing person, I'm a woman, and she got attacked by the left.
Yeah, they're like, no, you're not.
Yeah, like which is ridiculous. But
She's one of the main people at Young Turks, right? That's where
She's number 2.
yeah, it's
Next to
Shank's,
Shank, basically.
Shank's kind of the guy
Can we
that's
just
in charge.
Can we just point out the Young Turks? They were responsible for the Armenian genocide, weren't they?
not
that was the name of the group.
Shank and,
No,
and Anna, but
that was the
yes.
name of the
Pasha
group.
was
Yes.
the name of the guy.
So calling your news organization the Young Turks, many people have said it's like calling your news organization the Hitler Youth.
The Hitler Youth, yes.
Yeah.
And then also like being a Holocaust denier on top of it. That's the equivalent.
Holocaust.
Well, it would be like because he was an
Oh,
Armenian
right.
genocide denier.
He apologized for
and then
that.
he apologized. Okay, but can you imagine if there was a right-wing media outlet called the Hitler Youth and like, we apologize for the Holocaust denial thing. We don't believe that anymore.
Dude, I was at Politicon several years ago. They don't do it anymore. But they were protesters they were Armenian protesters demanding that Cenk Uygur change the name. And they were like, call
The
it
old Turks.
They're like, call it something else. Call it whatever.
Take a look in the
They-
mirror.
They were like, keep it TYT to keep the branding, but make it mean something else. Just stop calling your organization the Young Turks. They committed a genocide. And Cenk is just like, nah.
Did he ever talk about
What about the Turkish delights?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm just throwing stuff out there if he's
the
listening.
youthful.
Because he was young and he was Turkish. I get it.
No, Young Turks was so there's a slang term meaning like aggressive and abrasive youth, like punk. You know what I mean? But the term still comes from the Young Turks who committed the Armenian genocide. So
Yeah, it was a political party
Wild.
in the early 1900s. Yeah, Enver Pasha and like 2 other guys, I think.
Look, if there's a group that has committed a genocide, you should not name your organization.
Podcast after. Yeah, name your podcast something else.
Unless you want to rebrand, because there's somebody
There's
out
a-
there
there's a
named like
funny
John
thing.
Hitler, and like, so what? Just because he's got the
you know-
last
you know that
name.
I think Hitler got retired.
People who use that name.
You know, this reminds me of that Futurama joke where in like the first season or whatever, Fry is saying he's like the smelloscope, and it's like you can point it at any astral body and smell it. And then Fry goes, "Just don't make me smell Uranus." Then Leela's like, "Fry, we changed the name of that planet to stop that stupid joke." And he's like, "Oh, what do they call it now?" And the professor goes, "Eurectum."
yeah.
So it's like the Young Turks. It's like they're going to change the name. It's like the next choice they have is the Hitler Youth.
I do like the idea of rebranding because, like, I have a friend whose grandfather was a Nazi scientist. He was the guy Josef Mengele, and I know his grandson, and he was going with the Mengele last name, and he's like, I got to change my name.
Your buddies with his grandson?
Yeah, he's cool. I met him through YouTube. He's a YouTube video maker, great guy, Christian dude. He's the bomb, and he was like living in like this state of like existential concern because he's like, I got to change my name. And I'm like, well, maybe you don't. Maybe you're the guy that actually, brings honor back to the word.
Do you know about the Hitler family?
Negative.
There's a family. Their last name is Hitler, and they refuse to change their names, and they issue Christmas cards from the Hitlers. I'm not kidding.
talking about, dude?
It's true.
America?
In America, yeah, and they said it's not fair that we would have to change our name.
Why? He should have to change his name.
This all has very strong.
He's the one who sucks. Why should I have to change my name?
This all has very strong. I'm taking it back from Clerks 2.
Taking back the word?
Yeah, we're taking it back.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.